Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
Yesterday, we all got the bad news. Big Hit released an announcement about the Map of the Soul tour on Weverse on August 19th. The message said, "This is Big Hit Music. We would like to provide some information regarding BTS Map of the Soul tour. Our company has worked hard to resume preparations for the tour, knowing that all fans have been waiting eagerly and long for the tour. However, due to changing circumstances beyond our control, it has become difficult to resume performances at the same scale and timeline as previously planned. Therefore, we must announce the cancellation of the tour." And then they offered their apology to all the fans who are waiting, and they said, "We are working to prepare a viable schedule and performance format that can meet your expectations, and we will provide updated notices as soon as possible." So this news came out just yesterday, and everybody was pretty disappointed online that I saw, and I guess it was expected. Like, we shouldn't be that surprised because, you know, artists were canceling all these other stadium concerts too, and they had done that like months ago, so it did make sense that it was time for, you know, BTS to make a decision on that. But I was still having some hope that they would figure out a way, you know, just with how influential HYBE is. I thought, oh, maybe they can just, you know, work this out.
Isn't that kind of odd? Because I see some concerts being rescheduled right now.
I am seeing that, and I guess it's
Right.
because they're not in stadiums. Like we're seeing stuff for arenas.
Aren't stadiums usually easier, though, since they're open air? I'm not sure what the rules are. I think the main problem is that they had dates in so many different countries.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to line up all the different rules. And this country has these rules. This other country has these other rules, you know?
Very difficult because
So,
you have to go in
yeah.
a certain order. You can't just go, oh, I'm in California, now I'm in New York, now I'm in Texas. You know, it's like it can't be.
You either say the tour is on or it's not, and it can't all be on because the rules are so different. Whereas if you're just doing a few American cities, then you could probably reschedule and decide that, yeah, it's going to be in January or something.
Yeah, and I just think the difficulty is the rules keep changing all the time. Like every week there's something different. It's like, okay, masks everywhere, and then, you know, masks, you know, aren't required. Like it changes all the time. So it's hard to plan like months ahead of time.
And I'm guessing they were running up into probably some sort of deadline for how long you could be in limbo on this point.
Yeah,
right? I mean, there has to be some kind of rule when you postpone something, how long you can keep the money and say, this is in a postponed state.
Right.
Can it be in a postponed state for 80 years? Obviously not. You're probably in breach of some sort of contract, right? So it must have outlined how long you can postpone something until you have to just decide, well, you're going to do it or you're going to refund everybody. I mean, they were probably up against that, is my guess.
That's true. And I was going to say, I feel like they, out of all the other artists that had big
They waited
tours,
the longest.
Yeah, it makes it seem like they really tried to make this work. They like worked hard to, can we figure this out? Can we like plan dates later? So I really want to appreciate the effort by HYBE because I think they really tried to make this work, and they tried to reschedule this somehow, even though that seems kind of impossible because it was going to be 38 dates, I think, and in like 18 countries. It's like, how is anyone supposed to plan that when, you know, every country is different, every city and state is even different, and just, that would have been such a difficult task right now.
Yeah, it seems impossible. They would have had to change a bunch of dates, change a bunch of cities. I think the problem was just how global their tour is.
Yeah. And these tours that are being rescheduled, it's ones that didn't have quite as many dates or didn't as many countries. It's like that's going to be easier logistically. Now, the reason that they had to cancel it is because of these, you know, new waves of COVID that are happening around the world, you know, the Delta variant and all that stuff. And so I'm seeing some ARMY on the timeline. They're kind of just like blaming each other for this. They're trying to say like, okay, it's because people aren't wearing their masks or people aren't getting vaccinated. And I just want to tell everybody, it's like, don't attack each other for this. This is nobody's fault. This is like not other people's fault for not wearing their mask enough or not getting vaccinated. It's like, can we like focus on who's really at fault here?
They can blame whoever they want.
it's a virus. It's going to spread regardless of how well we're mitigating it. But I feel like people forgot that this all started with China and how they didn't warn anybody about this. They just let it spread on purpose and tried to cover it up. And it's like, that's who we really need to be mad at, not like each other, because you can't prevent COVID from when it's already like spreading everywhere. It doesn't matter what the other person in your town does, if they're wearing a mask or not.
I'm not as upset with China because I just feel like, well, it probably just wasn't accidental and it got out of hand. And yeah, they could have told us earlier, but it's freaking China. I'm more irritated with our own government and people in this country that try to gaslight me and tell me that no, it's absolutely not China. What are you talking about? It probably even came from another continent. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Just like they say, the name of the virus is on the side of the building in Wuhan.
Yeah, and
it's literally on the side of the building.
It doesn't even matter if you think it was on purpose or it just accidentally came out, or if you think it actually like developed in the market because of what animals they had there, and like it doesn't even matter. It's just we know the country that it came from, and to try to deny that is ridiculous.
I don't think it's productive either way to cast blame. Your concert was canceled. Is it the fault of China? Is it the fault of people who are not wearing whatever? It doesn't make a difference. And at the end of the day, it's just a concert. You'll watch it at some point. These are just one of those things. You know how like they say that some things are act of God? This is just an act of God. You just have to roll with the punches sometimes.
Exactly. Like the fact that it's spreading, like a virus is an organism. It's just going to spread amongst people in a natural way, like just through the air. So it doesn't matter like how much you wear your mask or how much you're lecturing other people about wearing their masks. Like that isn't what's important. It's going to cycle through. All you can do is wait and try to treat it as best you can. And there's definitely, medicines out there that help people that when they have the symptoms of it. But I just don't want people tearing each other apart just because of they think you need to wear your mask or you need to get vaccinated and that's going to solve everything, because it's going to tear through the world no matter what. And a lot of people have brought up the fact that this round of concerts being canceled means that the next time it's going to be even that much more difficult to get tickets because BTS has gotten even more popular these last year and a half or 2 years, and all these new fans, they weren't in the running to get tickets the last time. They're all going to be like, really, really eager to get tickets next time. So we're all in competition with each other. And so I see on the timeline, some people are just very angry about this situation. And they're like, we should get priority. Those of us who had tickets already.
Oh, yeah.
And, they're kind of attacking like the newer fans. I mean,
What? Was it that long? Did we buy tickets in 2019?
I think I saw it was like February 2020.
Oh, okay.
That we bought them.
And people are bitter that new fans have an equal shot at tickets now, huh?
Yeah, and we had those who bought tickets have no advantage anymore, and then we're all equal.
Well, you can buy you have to buy the membership to even get them. No, you don't. For the early access, for the pre-order.
Yeah, you do need the Army membership for that.
I understand what they're saying. There's more people now, so it's going to be more difficult just by nature of numbers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's no reason to be bitter. And this is one of those things that I hate to say it, but you throw more money at it will solve the problem. If you want, I'm kind of bitter because it was hard, or not hard, but just good luck that I got like second row seats. I don't know if I can get that again.
Yeah, right. We don't know if we'll be able to duplicate what we got this time, which was so good. It was sound check, and it was like 2 different days, and it's like, okay, who knows if we can do that next time.
But at the end of the day, you can always buy similar tickets. If you have to maybe pay more on a secondary market, then you pay more. I know that doesn't sound good. Of course, yeah, maybe you're upset, but it's certainly not the fault of the people who are new.
Yeah, they can't
right?
help
It's
it.
the fault of the. It's just an unfortunate confluence of circumstances, right? That's all.
The new BTS fans can't help when they found BTS.
Right.
You know, they just decided like, okay, Dynamite, Butter. Okay, I'm standing now. You know,
Yeah.
it's like they couldn't help the timing of that. That is what I recommend, though. It's like in order to give yourself the best chance, just make sure you have your army membership before the ticket sales happen, and then start saving your money. Like start saving it right now. Like if you got a refund for the tickets, then you set that aside. Don't just like spend that immediately. Just like save that and I don't know, invest it or just like try to get more money for next time. You know, because you might need to spend more than you spent on this time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think once they are able to have dates for the next tour that's going to have the same set list as
No, absolutely not.
they intended originally?
No. They've released a bunch of songs since then. It'll have to change, right? They're going to have to update it.
I think they were okay. If the concerts were going to happen this year, they wouldn't have had to change that much. Maybe they just have to add Butter, Permission to Dance.
Mm-hmm.
But now, okay, if they don't have dates now, then it can't be for at least another year because of how logistically difficult that would be. So, and by then, they will have to have released another album, maybe even 2 albums. So it's definitely going to have different songs whenever this next tour is. And I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but I feel like you've lost a cycle because you can't have the same exact order. It's like they skipped a year almost because I feel like they were going to open with On. Because that was their like big title song, and they had all the choreography, and it was gonna have like the marching band or whatever, like some big event for opening. And then I bet you they were gonna end with "We Are Bulletproof the Eternal" because that's a good ending song, a good emotional song. And then I don't think you can stick to that because by the time there's the next tour, it's gonna be like different songs and different order of things. And yeah, I don't know if we'll be satisfied, but I guess we'll just have to deal with it because there's nothing you can do. But yeah, I have been getting emails from Live Nation and Ticketmaster about all the other artists that are rescheduling things, and I know those are all, not they're like arena concerts. But do you think maybe the strategy that Big Hit did was like, let's announce this on a Thursday or Friday, like at the end of the week, that the tour is canceled, and then maybe Monday we'll get an announcement of the next thing. Like maybe they're gonna say, okay, the next tour is gonna be whatever, like the dates. Do you think they would like? I just feel like they wouldn't let us sit with this bad news for that long of a time.
I think they will. Unfortunately for you, if there's nothing new to announce, there's nothing new to announce. I don't think there's going to be anything solid for a while. For the same reasons, like we said, there's just so many variables right now, and especially with so many different countries to deal with, different policies to deal with. They're really in the worst position to execute a tour.
They're too successful and they're too big, and like everybody wants them to come through their city. What about this? I saw on Twitter one person thought maybe they're not going to announce a tour as the next thing, but maybe they're just going to decide now's the time to enlist.
You know what? That's not a bad theory. I mean, think about it. What if they had just enlisted 6 months ago or a year ago? It would have worked out perfectly, right?
Yeah, they would have been like almost done.
Yeah.
Because of the uncertainty, like maybe they would think, okay, maybe now's the time to go.
I wouldn't complain about that strategy at all. I would be for it. I think it would be pretty smart. Think about it. If you think that we might have another round of lockdowns or uncertainty due to Delta variant, you have to figure that it's August now. This thing would go through the fall and the winter at least, right? So that's another 8 months or whatever. You go now, you only have to do one and a half years, right? They don't have to do 1.5 years technically, right? Even though it's quote unquote 2. Well, you've already knocked out like half of it. You know?
Yeah. And knowing they can't go on tour for a while, will they take advantage of
there's no way they can
now?
tour until next summer at the earliest. Are they going to have a winter? No. Are they going to have a spring tour? Doubtful, right?
Right. They usually have the first dates starting
summer,
like
summer
April.
tours, like the biggest,
right
the biggest
before
groups
summer.
tour during the summer because that's when you make the most money.
Mm-hmm.
Next summer is the earliest. So if they could knock out like a whole year of their enlistment, right? And then late summer, come back and tour, or even switch it up and do a winter tour. Who knows if it's even available next summer? Who knows, right? Because they have to comply with the laws of a bunch of different countries as opposed to some of these other people.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good time. The better time would have been a year ago. And perhaps the next best time is right now, you know?
Yeah, that could be what they're thinking. And we know they've been really busy this whole year because they haven't done as many V lives or just like random like social media postings. So people think, okay, maybe they're really compiling content right now. Like they're preparing for a break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they want to make sure they've filmed enough so that fans have stuff to watch and listen to. So, yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's like their plan B because they couldn't get this tour going in time.
If they could go back in time, they probably should have just done it 6 months ago. But then I don't blame them. Yeah, that's hindsight. 6 months ago, it looked like maybe there's vaccines, this thing's dying down. They could maybe even tour this summer.
Yeah, it looked like it was improving the situation. Which brings me to the next topic because I had recently watched some videos that were talking about the security measures taken by HYBE to protect BTS and the other HYBE artists. There was a video by Jessie, the rapper from P Nation. Wait, is she P Nation?
Yes.
Yeah, P Nation. And I guess she has a show where she interviews people. And she interviewed TXT at the HYBE building. And so at the beginning of this interview, she talks about how it took 30 minutes to get into the building and no pictures could be taken. So her point is like, wow, it took a long time to pass through security of HYBE just to do this interview. And that shows you just how much security they have at that building for their artists. And probably mostly because of BTS, but I'm sure, to protect the other artists too. But this is a lot like an airport or a government building, like in Washington, D.C. It's like that level of security is in place. And another video I saw recently was these guys from a security company in Korea. They were talking about how they guard idols and they answered questions like what do they do and like what are their duties and like are they not supposed to talk to the idols. Like I don't know why this was a YouTube video, but I guess they felt the need to make one about that because people had questions. But one question was, who has the most guards? And they said BTS has 150 to 200 bodyguards at an event. So
no,
I'm assuming
that's not true.
I'm assuming like
no,
that's talking about when there's a concert
that's
or
incorrect. Something. I'm sure they're talking about event staff in that situation.
Right, like not on a regular basis.
Not just your everyday life going to here and there. That's just they're throwing event staff in with that number. Okay. Mm-hmm. The president of the United States doesn't have that many security. Okay.
Doesn't he have like 2 or 3 guys just around?
Oh well, he doesn't have that few either. He has at least a dozen people at all times, and there's depending on where he is, there are people already set up at, let's say, where the White House.
Yeah, that's true. There's people who got there ahead of time.
But even there, it's not 200 people. It's not necessary.
But so these videos were telling me, okay, BTS just on a daily basis, they do have a lot of security. They're always protected. And let's say they do enlist, like we think they might during this time. Mm-hmm. Can they even do that? Like we've talked about how, okay, maybe they'll all enlist 7 together, or maybe they'll go one at a time, or, when are they going to do it? Like we talked about all that, but we haven't really discussed logistically, can it even happen? Because would they be like too vulnerable in the military? Like would somebody try to attack them or something?
It's a military base. There's an inherent level of security in it already, right?
I mean, there is like U.S. bases. I don't know how they have it. Like to where
why
it's
are their bases any different? Their military is structured based on the U.S. military, our military. What do you think they learn how to, run their stuff?
On bases, yes. Like I know that okay, it's an armed security points, you know, like you can't get in unless you are supposed to be there. But sometimes like these idols, they just do it's like, oh, I'm a policeman, I'm a social worker or something. Like that's their military job that they're assigned. Like does that all happen on a base too? Like that's behind, you know, armed security?
Well, I'm not familiar with all the bases in Korea or what their specific situation is going to be like, but there is an inherent level of security when you're talking about being on a military base. You know, there's checkpoints, there's security on the perimeter, I would assume. Right? It's a military base. It's not a vacation spot.
I guess my question is,
right?
do you think that South Korean military is going to treat them just like anybody else who's in the military?
No, they're not. And they don't treat idols like anybody else already. They already are treated slightly differently. Don't they get certain types of jobs and it's just easier on them, right? It's not the same. Now, it's not, by American standards, it's not preferential treatment. It's just slightly preferential treatment, as I understand it. Real preferential treatment would be not having to go at all, obviously. But they have to go. They have to sort of do some things and serve their time. But it'll be easy on them. And no, there's an inherent level of security on those bases anyway. And it's going to be hard for the Saesangs to just run onto the base. So you don't fit in on this military base.
That's true. They couldn't just...
What are you going to do? You look really out of place, you know? What are they going to do? Swarm it by the hundreds?
They'll climb over a barbed wire fence.
That's not what's going to happen. And if it's only like a few people at a time, you know, the existing security apparatus, I'm sure, can handle it. And if HYBE is so concerned about it, they can hire private security and post them on the outside of the bases, perhaps. Right? They can do that. I bet you anything, there's like some distance that you could be from the base and still be allowed.
They'll like keep an eye on things.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, watch the entrance with more. There's no need, though. There is somebody probably guarding the entrance. And they're going to ask for credentials. And if they see Saesangs like run past, they'll stop them, right? What are they going to do? Not stop them? Mm-hmm. What do they think is going to happen?
Do you think they would like, if someone didn't listen, would they like shoot them?
No, they're not going to shoot them. They would call, you know, the internal security and then people would swarm them and escort them out.
Like, there's an intruder.
And it'll be obvious who it is, right? Everybody will look and say, oh, this person is A, not male, and B, doesn't like have a military uniform on. Mm-hmm. They don't belong here. It'll be obvious to everybody. They're not in danger. I really think that's just a non-issue.
Well, that would be good if it was a non-issue.
Did someone say that it's an issue?
No, I just thought about it. Just the fact that they have so much security on a daily basis. Would they be protected enough if they just went to the military?
I'm sure it's not an issue.
As all the other citizens do. And so it sounds like you think the biggest threat is just going to be stalkers. Just
what are we talking about? We're talking about assassins?
I don't know. Maybe someone thinks, you know, oh, this will really hurt South Korea if we get to BTS somehow.
I would say the security they have on a base is comparable to what they have in their apartment. Well, how much security do you think they have at their apartment?
It's a gated community.
And what does a military base have?
Right.
A gate.
Very closed
right?
off.
I bet they don't even have... do they even have private... Do they have a guy staying outside of their door? I don't know if they do. Do you know? I'm not saying they do or don't.
I don't know. But I would compare this to... Because somehow Prince William, Prince Harry, they both served in the military. Mm-hmm. And did they have to do anything that different?
Oh, no. They didn't. And in fact, Prince Harry was allowed to go fight.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so they really didn't coddle them or anything. So it's totally unnecessary. They're safer there than they are in their apartment, unless their apartment includes nonstop private security, like people in their house. And I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think BTS has that to where the like security is inside their place at all times.
Oh. Interestingly enough, we know somebody who works private security for rich people, right? But I don't think BTS has that. This is for like billionaires, mm-hmm. You know, and it's for people who legitimately really think that someone's gonna probably try to kill them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that BTS is in that position. They just have stalkers.
Right. It's more people who are obsessed with them than people that want to kill them.
Right. And so they don't need, guys with guns literally in their home 24/7. And also, even if they needed guys with guns in their home, what do they have at the military base? Guys with guns in their home. They have more of those people at the military base.
So you're saying that South Korean bases are very similar to American bases?
I think they're similar to bases, military bases everywhere, which is you have a bunch of men, the perimeter is secured, there's security checkpoints, guys inside have guns. This is not special. This is pretty typical for a military base, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Well, that'll make Army feel better then. If BTS enlists that they're going to be safe doing whatever it is on the base.
The most threatening thing to them wouldn't be people like Saesangs or whatever jumping the fence or coming from the outside. It'd probably be another person inside the base, right?
Right.
Logically speaking, that's the biggest security vulnerability.
Well, that's going to be so weird for them. Like you sleep in a room and there's like a bunch of other people and it's like, oh, there's someone from BTS is in my bunk.
Yeah, you get over it fast. The guys are probably just tired all the time.
I saw an article from Rolling Stone called "A BTS-backed social network for fandoms wants to revolutionize stan culture." So then, of course, I wanted to click on this article. I was like, oh, what is this all about? And then, of course, it's behind a paywall because Rolling Stone is lame. So if you ever need to read an article that's behind a paywall, I'm going to tell you how to do that. So you click on the link, and then before it even finishes loading on the page, you click on Control A and then Control C. So that's going to copy all the text that's in the article.
Mm-hmm.
And then you paste it into Notepad or Word or whatever.
Mm.
And then you can read it. So that's what I had to do for this article because, of course, I wanted to see what it was all about. And there's some kind of new website or app called Fave, F-A-V-E. And it says, this Fave is creating a safe space for fans to do things like share videos, compete in prize unlocking contests, and go into business with their beloved stars via an Etsy for user-generated merch marketplace. So basically it's a platform for fandoms. It's very similar to Weverse is what it sounds like, but it's created by a woman from Google. And it says on Wednesday, August 18th, the app took a step out of its beta status to launch a section devoted to BTS Army. And they're going to have different sections for all the different fandoms. And I think they're going to have one for all the different like Western artists. And I just had to laugh at like the names of some of the other fandoms because they don't sound as good as Army. Where was it? Oh, yeah. They're going to have a section for Swifties and Justin Bieber Beliebers and the Beehive, the Beyonce people.
Mm.
And it's like all the other names are like terrible names, like Selenators and Arianators.
Okay.
So they want to include all the different fandoms. So they're trying to recreate Weverse, but on a Western site. And I don't know if that's gonna work, but it's by someone from Google, so it seems like it has a pretty good chance.
So what is the business model?
I don't think they have one.
No, they must have a business model.
I mean, I think the goal is to get everybody signed up to it, like Facebook, like Instagram or whatever. And because I think their goal is really just to collect data to begin with, because that's even one thing they mentioned in this article is that they want to collect the fans' data and like know their preferences. Like, because usually, okay, you're a fan of Taylor Swift, you buy her stuff. They don't really keep track of you as a fan. Like, oh, here's the things this person bought. Here's how many albums they got. And it seems like this site is trying to keep track of everything like the one fan does. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense because it's like the woman's from Google. So, of course, she thinks of, mining everybody's data and stuff. And, whatever they do with that in the future, I don't know. But, they'd probably share that with like record labels or something, or sell your email to people to sell you stuff. I think it's just to gain information.
How is this more effective than just the regular old data mining from like Facebook or Google though? Google and Facebook already track everything you do. Every single website you go to, every single whatever, they know you're a BTS fan, and they know what you bought on Saturday, right? And they know what products you talked about because your phone was listening to you. They know all of that stuff, by the way. So I'm just curious what value this site adds. They talk about, like, this. The interesting sentence to me is going into business with your favorite group.
Right.
Like, what does that mean? Like, when you sell something on Etsy, I don't know a lot of fans that sell something on Etsy. Is that more popular than I'm thinking?
That is the thing, though.
Are they wanting a piece of that?
There's a lot of fans that are very creative. Like, they'll create art, and they'll sell drawings, or they'll sell T-shirts. Things they've designed that have to do with the band. And like, if you do that on Etsy, it's kind of like, I don't know how strict Etsy is, but a lot of times on different platforms, you can't do something that straight up uses the band name or
there's copyright issues,
their logo or anything like that. So you kind of have to be like, try to get around that. But sometimes you can't. But I think Etsy is one of the more lenient ones. I
see. So they, instead of suppressing this sort of behavior, they just want to get a cut of it. So they want to let fans do all their stuff, which I think is a good idea because it just promotes more fandom. I'm not sure how much money it even generates, but if it does generate any significant amount of money, it's better to get a piece of it than to try to suppress it. Because all this fan-generated stuff, the companies are not... Like, let's say the companies successfully use the lawyers to just wipe that stuff off the face of the earth. They're not supplying equally interesting, creative stuff. I'll be honest with you, no offense, but like the merch from every single artist that I've seen on their official sites has been terrible. All of Taylor Swift's merch is terrible. I don't like BTS's merch. It's not that interesting. I don't think that the merch is that interesting. I bet you anything the fan-created merch is a lot more interesting. So, yeah, it makes sense for them to just create this platform where they just tell you, hey, go ahead and knock yourselves out. We get a cut, though. That's fine, right? And it's fair, right? It is their intellectual property. Yes, yeah, so if that's the business model, I think it's a pretty good idea. If the business model is to mine data, like, half of the internet business models are, I'm not sure that adds that much value because they already have your data. Let's just be real. They have your data. They know that you're a BTS fan. They know, they know what foods you eat. They know who you vote for. They know all of these things.
Right.
And a company like Palantir is able to crunch all of this and give them usable data, right? So I'm not sure that mining data with this site is that much added value. I could be wrong, but I do think that if they feel like, hey, fans are making better merch than us anyway, instead of trying to suppress it, let's just get a piece of it.
But then why would an artist want to sign on for that? Do you think?
Make money.
Yeah, but they'll only get like 10% or whatever it is from it.
It's 10% more than they would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, but then
on Etsy they get none, right?
Now their strategy is let's copyright strike anything that that's too close to our logo and name, and then we'll sell our own merch and we get 100% of that.
But then that assumes that if you copyright strike everything, those people will turn right to your official fan site and buy your stuff.
Right.
But here's why that's not happening necessarily. Official merch sucks. I don't know how else to say it. Official merch doesn't seem that interesting to me. Like whenever, like I've seen a little bit of fan made stuff, it looks more interesting to me. So those people, that's not going to convert into sales for you. All that's going to do is just piss off fans a little bit or a lot and just close off that sale. Why not have a cut of it instead? That's probably a smarter idea. So if that's a business model, I agree. I think it's a good business model. I didn't know it was that big of an industry though. I tend to think not. But then again, I don't go on Etsy and shop for this stuff,
Yeah, no, I'd see a lot of fans do that. Like they're advertising, drawings or T-shirts or things they've designed. And, sometimes it's like very close to looking like official stuff. But, it depends if you get caught or not. I think it's good then. I think it will facilitate better relations with fans. I think you're getting a cut of a market that you didn't have a cut from before.
I don't think you're cannibalizing your own stuff because I don't think that was fungible necessarily. It's like, well, if they don't buy stuff here, they're just going to buy it from us. They're going to buy our $50 t-shirt. I don't know. I don't think so necessarily.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is official merch is usually a lot more expensive. So maybe people will want to buy the fan merch, but then at least the artist gets a percent of that. One thing I was really surprised about was that the woman who's the CEO of Fave, she met with investors. She met with Hybe. Like she told them here's the business model. Here's what we're gonna do, and was like, do you want to fund us? And they were talking about acquiring this company, and then they didn't. I guess that was just like a meeting. I don't think she was trying to like sell it immediately. She was trying to get investors, but Hybe was like very interested, and then they wanted to invest in it. And like, why do you think they would do that if they have Weverse? Like, why wouldn't they just try to...
Can you sell your fan-made stuff on Weverse?
No.
Then it's totally different.
Well, they could just add that if they wanted to.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, is BTS trying to get like Beyonce fans on Weverse?
Yeah, that's true. They don't have Beyonce on there. They just have certain artists.
Right.
Whereas this other site might get all the big Western artists.
Now they have a piece of that platform. So every time Beyonce fans make something for other Beyonce fans and they buy something, guess who gets a cut? Hybe.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You got to think beyond like the Hybe groups, and it's like we want to make money just on whatever, just anybody, not just BTS and TXT. Yeah, that makes sense. They're not just looking at it as helping their groups. They're looking at it, we want to make money just in general. Like, we want to invest in this as its own idea. Also,
the other thing is if this woman, or the woman, right? If she had the idea, she's talking to him about it in February. If Hybe never even thought of this functionality for Weverse, and this other person has it ready to go with the functionality, other backers, and maybe has lined up Taylor Swift, Beyonce, whatever. It's not even an option for them to say, oh, let's just add the functionality to Weverse. Well, okay, then, but you don't have Taylor Swift, Beyonce, whatever, coming over to Weverse.
That's true.
Right? And it's not just, you don't just snap your fingers and add like functionality like this, right? It's not that quick.
Yeah.
So it's easier to invest in what you think is a good idea than to say, oh, let's steal your idea. And even like the stealing of the idea could be problematic in itself, right? So, hey, if this woman has a good idea, just invest in it. If you think it's a good idea, and if she already has good stuff lined up, people backing it, people ready to go, then investing it is the answer. Not trying to take it over, or just not trying to beat her to the punch or something.
Right. Let's just copy her idea. It's like, wait, you can't just snap your fingers and do that.
Now, I'm not saying that never happens. Business is a cutthroat world, and do people sometimes hear of ideas and just beat you to the punch and leave you out in the cold? Yeah, that does happen. But at the same time, sometimes it makes more sense to just invest.
This reminds me of a podcast I listened to recently. It was about Netflix versus Blockbuster. Remember how when Netflix started, they were like the first ones to do a streaming service. Well, actually, before that...
No, they did mail.
Yeah, they had the DVDs by mail. Like, they were the first ones to do that. And then this was when Blockbuster was still successful. And then they
were still number one, yeah.
And then Netflix started getting bigger. And then Blockbuster was like, oh, well, we're just going to copy that then. We're just going to let people...
No, that's not what happened.
They tried to copy a website.
No, well, the first thing that happened, I'm pretty sure, is that Netflix offered to sell themselves to Blockbuster. They asked them, do you want to buy us for some paltry sum, like 20 or 200 million, something like that? And Blockbuster said no. And then, once it became clear that, oh no, their model's better than ours, then Blockbuster copied their model, but they never really caught up. It was not as successful.
Yeah, they tried to have the website as well, but it's like they can't replicate the algorithm because whatever Netflix did was like very sophisticated. It was
more sophisticated. Yes. Yeah, so if you're too young to know about this stuff. So basically, you used to have to go and rent videos at a physical place, a video store like a Blockbuster, right? And Netflix sort of upended that by, instead of going someplace, you would just go to a website and ask for DVDs in the mail, and they'd send it to you. And then when you're done, you'd ship them back. And this somehow made financial sense, even with the shipping costs. And you think, oh yeah, that's really cool because it's so convenient. But the real USP, unique selling point, was that Netflix had an algorithm that was very good at, and this people take it for granted now because of everything that's happening online has a similar algorithm.
Yeah, everything has like AI.
Netflix was very good at taking what movies you liked or rented or whatever and suggesting movies that you would like. They would successfully suggest a thing that you would like. And I remember at the time, Netflix was like asking the public or asking various, programmers, or they would ask people to work on this algorithm. They didn't have one. They just said, hey, can you successfully predict what people will like? And if you can, we'll give you $1 million or something, right? And they got what they wanted. People obviously submitted successful algorithms, and they were better at suggesting something. So imagine, like, back in the day when you went to a video store, one of the worst things about going to, and I'm old enough to know because I went to them, one of the worst things was going there, you didn't know what you wanted to watch, and you just walk around for like an hour and like, oh, I don't feel like that, I don't feel like that, do I feel like that one? And then, oh, that one looks good, oh, but it's rented out.
Like, if it's the decision is up to you, it's like you don't even know what you want. Like, I can't.
Yeah, and there's just like the choice is the whole store. It was very difficult to narrow in on what you want, right? Netflix was good at looking your past, your history, and saying, hey, you would like this movie. And then you look at it and say, yeah, that looks good actually. Now, but their suggestion had to be good, right? And that was their USP. That's what made them a little more success. That was one of the things that killed Blockbuster. Blockbuster didn't have that.
Oh yeah, and I remember like you would have a Netflix queue. So then like, oh, here's the next movie I'm gonna rent.
And they would keep suggesting things that, yeah, this is what you'd be interested in, right? You'd like this, right? You know who's really good at that these days is YouTube, obviously, because number one, YouTube. Well, this is like years later. They just have better algorithms. They have more data points for you because you watch so many videos. They know what you like. Mm-hmm. And if you have a Google account and you log in with that same Google account that you use to search the internet with, I have no doubt that Google might even be like pulling stuff from your internet searches to suggest YouTube videos to you. Mm-hmm. They know so much about you that they can suggest things to you accurately. And then you say, oh, that looks like an interesting video. And then over here, oh, that one looks interesting too. And oh, that one looks good too. It's like, oh, I was just thinking about that. And it's like, and before you know, you've been watching YouTube for 6 hours. They won. Mm-hmm. They won. They kept you on the platform for 6 hours. That is an amazing success. And it only happens because they can reliably predict what you want. And that's what Netflix was able to do that Blockbuster couldn't. Blockbuster just put you out into... Imagine if you're on YouTube and you just had a random assortment of everything on YouTube and they just said, here, pick something to watch. You'd say, I don't like any of this garbage.
It's like, I have no idea. Like,
I don't care about cats. I don't care about woodworking.
It's like, I need to search for something. I don't know what to search for.
Yeah, it's like, well, why don't you search for the thing you want? Like,
I don't know what I feel like.
Then you're gonna go somewhere else. Then you're gonna like put on Friends for the 9,000th time, right? That's what you're gonna watch, right? That's just human nature, right? So, that was a long tangent, but essentially, Netflix offered to be bought. I think Blockbuster laughed at them. And then in a few short years, Netflix put them out of business.
No, but then my point was like Blockbuster tried to replicate what Netflix was doing.
Yes, but too late.
But they couldn't catch up because it's like Netflix had so many...
Their technology was better.
Yeah, they were like years ahead of what they were working on. You can't just catch up instantly just because you saw that idea. So yeah, I think... That's true then, because I was thinking like, okay, well, why would Hybe want to invest in this? Why don't they just improve Weverse? But it does make more sense that they just, try to get in on this phase.
Especially if it's a totally new idea. You're just gonna say, oh, we're just gonna add it to our platform in 3 months, and it's gonna work just as well as yours. That's assuming quite a lot, I would think. It might just, and they're so flush with cash, as we know, it might make more sense to just say, well, we'll just get a piece of your action then.
Yeah, and then maybe they can probably have some kind of deal to, use some of the same technology if you're one of the investors, I would assume. A group named Big Time Rush was preparing for their latest comeback and recently mentioned other boy bands during their Instagram Live. So I never really heard of this group, but I guess they were popular at the same time that the Jonas Brothers were popular on Nickelodeon.
Never heard of them.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
So they were asked if they would consider collaborating with the Jonas Brothers on this Instagram Live. And so then the one member said, yeah, why not? And then the others were saying, well, that would be a lot of voices on the track. And then another person said, well, that would be like 7 people. It's like there's 4 of them and then 3 Jonas Brothers. And then, another person said, oh, well, that's how many people are in BTS. So he's trying to say, like, okay, that's not going to be that many people. And then the one member, Carlos, I guess he was... This is where Army was like criticizing him, because then he was like, oh, I don't know anything about BTS. And it's like, or I couldn't name any of their songs. And so the things he started saying was just like, I don't think he was trying to trash BTS, which is how some people took it. But he was just saying like, well, I don't really know much about them. And I think the other members were trying to like steer him away from that line of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But he kept like, not saying good things. It's like they're like, oh, well, what about Dynamite? And he's like, oh, that was them. And then he was like, oh, I thought that was a girl singing. It's like, okay, that now you've really done it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say stuff like that. And I think the other members knew that you have to be really careful if you're talking about BTS and you like don't know.
He just doesn't know.
Yeah. If you don't know anything about them, you have
well,
to...
is he old now? This is like, the group was from 2009, right?
Yeah, but if it was like a Nickelodeon group, they're probably like...
Oh, he's not old then.
Young kids at that time.
So he's only like 30 now.
Right. They're probably about the same age as
well,
him.
maybe he just honestly doesn't like BTS. Although you have to be living under a rock not to be generally aware of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had Dynamite, they had Butter. I feel like people heard those songs.
Well, he said he heard it.
Yeah.
But he just didn't know. Well, he's just not paying close attention. That's okay.
Yeah. And there was a lot of tweets about this, but I don't think he like intentionally was trying to bash BTS. I couldn't tell if he was being intentionally insulting. He could have been. It's possible. It's it sounds like something someone might say if they were just trying to be dismissive of BTS. Mm-hmm. But if he just sincerely doesn't really listen to them and sincerely thought it was a girl group singing it. Although it doesn't sound like a girl group. I don't know how you can make that mistake. But maybe he's just not listening closely. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's like 50-50 as far as if he was trying to be insulting or if he was just clueless.
Yeah, just ignorant of all of it. Like it's not something he cares about,
Yeah.
I think it's a 50-50. It was really obvious, though, that the other group members were like deathly afraid of the fallout.
Yeah. They were trying to sound positive and like move on to the next thing. It's like, wait,
like, bro, I do not want to have to shut down my Twitter,
It's like,
yeah, it was very obvious that they were aware of the potential consequence of this.
I felt bad for them because, like, okay, let's say he says something really bad, then they all have to suffer,
Right.
And you could tell like the others knew about BTS and they knew to be careful about all that, and he was just like oblivious. So it was just an awkward video. So if you get the chance to watch it, I don't know if I summed it up accurately, but if you watch the video, you'll see what we're saying. Like you said, probably like 50-50 if he was trying to be shady or not. But I don't know. I can't get angry about stuff like that. It's just like,
listen. Here's some advice to you in life, kids, and you would do well to heed this. If you didn't even hear about a person before today, don't get upset by something they say. Think about it. You didn't even know who they were before today, right? If it was your best friend of years who said something that was offensive to you, okay, maybe that's something you need to deal with, and you need to, maybe have a conversation about this. You need to put some energy into this and resolving it, perhaps. You never even heard about the person, like you don't know who this person was before today, then is it really worth your energy? Even if he was trying to be insulting, is it worth your energy? Yeah, it's not. Maybe it's worth enough energy to get on Twitter and say something snarky to him, right? Yeah, okay, maybe that takes like a minute. But beyond that, like, no, I don't think so. There's certainly no need to post twice on Twitter or, the next day about it. It's just not worth it. You've never even heard of this guy or this group.
It just was like such an awkward clip too, because you could tell the other members were just trying to get out of the situation. They're like, abort. It's like we need to get out of the weeds here, and don't get us canceled.
Right.
That one guy.
They're trying to resurrect their group, not end it before it even starts.
Yeah, you don't want to go down in defeat just because you insulted BTS.
Yeah, and if you want to, curry favor with big fandom, then you should try to get on the good side, logically.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this guy just has been out of the music business for a while and probably honestly didn't really pay attention.
Yeah, and he didn't know that like saying things about BTS is like walking in a minefield. Like you can't say anything like remotely negative.
When you were a Nickelodeon star, when you were you were brought in as a young kid, I think sometimes like that's not really your passion in life. Like you don't love music necessarily, want to be a singer, and maybe he's lived the past 10 years of his life, or 8 or 7 or whatever, just sort of out of the music scene and not paying close attention.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's totally possible.
Yeah.
And then they all realize, hey, nobody here is rich yet, right? Let's make some money by coming back together or something. There may be some money to be made doing that.
Yeah, bands are coming back all the time.
I was like, hey, we can maybe capitalize on this. And then maybe the other 3 people are A, more passionate about music, and B, more gung-ho about the whole getting back together thing. And they had to convince this last guy, like, hey, you've got to come. Otherwise, it's not a comeback if you don't participate.
And they're only
it's only 4 members, right?
So yeah, you need all of them.
You have to. And maybe he reluctantly said, okay, fine, whatever. So then during these live streams, he doesn't do his research, isn't connected to the industry, and he's just like, whatever. And then he's asked a question about this group he's never heard of or vaguely heard of, right?
That's true.
He doesn't care.
They're from the 2000s, so they're not as familiar with how it is now, how you got to be like on social media a lot, and you're on Instagram Live, and you're commenting on things and what you should say and not say. Yeah, he might be like out of the loop on all that.
Yeah, he might not realize that social media is so important for the publicity of your group, things like that.
And then certain things can just get you canceled like instantly.
Right. Well, does he have a Twitter? He's going to learn real fast.
He's going to hear from BTS Army. Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can find BTS Happy Hour on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other podcast platforms. New episodes weekly. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow BTS Happy Hour on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Weverse. You can also go to the website at btshappyhour.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional content. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.